Hello everybody, my name is Gary Bravo. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for coming back. It's nice to see you again. I actually have an intro for today's video, so Brandon, you're off the hook this time. I am going to be watching you next time though. You're on the wire. My last video, if you saw it, was about Dave Chappelle and some of the fun stuff that he's been saying recently. I was not expecting that video to get promoted to the people that it was promoted to. Turns out social media algorithms tend to push content to people based on whether it will make them angry or extremely angry. So that's who got recommended my video. I got a bunch of really cringy comments and a bunch of really scary comments. So I went ahead and disabled comments altogether. But I am going to keep that video up because I'm proud of the production I put into it, and nothing I said in that video is wrong in any way, so I'm going to stand by that. Moving on from that, I decided to do something a little bit less controversial for my next video. Maybe something a little bit more lighthearted, wholesome. But then one day I was browsing Reddit and I found a preview for a movie from 1986 called Soul Man. And then that just went right out the window. Watching this trailer made me feel like I was guilty of some hateful deed. It was almost as if just by knowing this movie existed, I should do some community service or something to try to purge the bad karma of letting it exist in my brain. But it's rare to see such a film, let alone a trailer, that can inspire such dread and cringe. So when the timer on that video hit 0, I knew I had to watch the whole thing for myself. Right off the bat here, we're met with an opening shot of absolutely free foot posting. It turns out the 80s actually were cool after all. And here we meet our hero, Mark. He goes to UCLA. He's your average run-of-the-mill rich kid type. Likes to sleep around, likes to party, and more than anything, he wants to get into Harvard Law School. And like all of our good little rich kids, he does! Hooray! And remember kids, all you need to be successful in life is to be born rich. And if you happen to not be born rich, then, I don't know, fuck you, I guess. Aw, cool. I guess they had XD random kids in the 80s as well. Man, I wonder if we're ever going to get around to finding a cure for that. And to my surprise, XD random 80s guy has his doctorate degree. Wow, that's incredible. Let's take a pause here and do some math. So these kids go to UCLA. The year is 1985. The average yearly tuition cost for UCLA in 1985 was $1,296 a year. But you can't forget inflation, so we punch that into our magic calculator, and you get an average adjusted cost of around $3,500 a year. $3,500 a year, wow, actually that's not so bad. Maybe I'll go back to school after all. Dr. Bravo kind of has a nice ring to it. Oh wait, I'm sorry, what? Oh, even adjusted for inflation, that's not how much it costs? Oh, it's actually closer to $13,000 a year, and the acceptance rate of UCLA is actually closer to 11% than it was in 1985 when it was around 70. Whatever. I didn't want to be a sunscreen doctor, whatever the fuck that idiot said anyway. Let's just keep watching. Uh-oh, folks. Here comes a conflict. Looks like Mark, our hero, is getting cut off by his parents. Even though he got into Harvard Law School, he's going to have to pay his own way. I felt a little bit of sympathy for Mark here, honestly. It felt that his dad was just cutting him off to be kind of a dick for some reason. But later we find out that his dad was like pseudo-brainwashed by his therapist because his therapist was projecting all his own hatred from his family onto all of his patients, which is a pretty funny bit. But regardless, Mark is still going to have to pay. Mark's got to put his nose to the grindstone here. He's got to find that money one way or another. We're going to have to check with the bank. We're going to have to check with FAFSA to see if we can get some federal aid funding, maybe? I don't know. Now, these programs, they support a lot of people in their goals to achieve higher education, including myself. So I think that there should be more work going into adjusting how, like maybe there should be other factors involved besides just parental income. That's neither here nor there. But we also are going to check scholarships.
Stipend to the most qualified applicant from Los Angeles, California.
Let me see that. The most qualified black applicant, you idiot.
Oh.
Uh-oh, folks. I think we both know where this might be going.
Congratulations, Mr. Watson, and good luck at Harvard.
Thank you, sir. I'll do my best.
Oh, Jesus. Come on, dude. All right, if you went to college and you don't have rich parents, you might notice there's one critical step here that Mark missed on the path to try to find funding for his college education. That step would be getting a job. This fucker didn't even try to find a job before just straight up pretending to be black. Next time your parents tell you no one wants to work anymore, show them this. This guy asked 4 people for money and then went full blackface.
So I went over to see Seth at his lab the other day, and he gave me these pills.
Never take anything Seth gives you.
It's a new product this suntan lotion company's developing. They're tanning pills. They chemically tan your skin.
Okay, we're learning a few critical things here, everybody. Turns out XD Random Guy from the party, he invented a pill that turns white people's skin black. And in other news, maybe cheap education was a bad idea after all. I'm going to go ahead and redact all the complaining I did before about how school is too expensive now. We definitely don't need any more zany, racist scientists running around the streets like they had in the 80s. Going to go ahead and put a point on the board here for a rising cost of education. I definitely did not see that coming. And we learned that he's not actually in blackface. It's just the pill that turns his skin black. So it's not racist, it's science. And science can't be racist. So that's good news. I mean, it looks like we were all worried about nothing. Now with Mark getting his scholarship, he's all ready to roll at Harvard. Oh shit. I forgot Harvard was in Boston. All right, buckle up, everybody. This is going to be a rough one.
Anything wrong, Mr. McGrady?
Yeah, there may be a problem here. You know, when your mother rented this place for you, she never told me that your roommate was a,
What?
black.
What?
A black smart-ass little rubberneck.
Boy, this guy McGrady is real dog brain.
Here's an 80s fact for all you Zoomers out there. Someone being described as dog-brained in the 80s would translate today as being a racist or a Celtics fan. Either way works, really. Is that Leslie Nielsen? Wait, is that Jan from The Office? What is happening?
Well, there's nothing legally we can do right now.
Wait, Jan's dad is a racist? Oh, man. Now I gotta return all those candles.
You got 1,000 black guys and 1 white guy. What do you call the white guy? I give up. What? Sorry.
Here we get to meet Sarah, the love interest of the movie. Watch now as she slam dunks on Mark's cheap advances. Get owned, idiot.
I think I just changed my mind. I'm taking criminal law.
What? I thought we decided not to take that until next semester.
That's before I found out the prof was a brother.
Ugh. They should have just called this movie Microaggression, the movie. It saved us all a lot of time. Our hero, now having convinced the school board that he was a black person and not just a rich white kid playing dress up, begins to settle into his college experience. He joins a college club and is promptly kicked out. He joins a sports team and is dunked on again, but more literally this time. But it's around here where we start to see the veneer crack a little bit for Mark. Not so much literally, although I wish it would. Oh shit, that is Jan. I knew it. I'm office brained. As Mark navigates his time in Harvard, he begins to notice some friction. He's having more difficulty in his classes than he's used to, and he's starting to notice that people are having preconceived notions about him based on his skin color.
That skin very wrong. Mr. Watson, can you name the president for us?
Yes, sir. The precedent, sir, is Ronald Reagan, sir.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Also, side note, I waited this whole movie for Leslie Nielsen to say something funny, and he doesn't. What did they do to this man? Someone needs to release the Leslie cut on this shit. This is fucked up. Mark even ends up having a run-in with the police that ends up getting him arrested, and in lockup he gets beat up by a bunch of racist idiots. Beautiful Boston, everybody. You gotta love it. Go Celtics. Okay, here we start to see a real shift. As we enter into the next act, Mark has started to experience the effects of racism and has begun to adjust to his new life of pretending to be a black person. He even gets to catch up with Sarah more, and we learn a little bit about how she is doing in school. Turns out school has been a little bit rough because she is a single mother and she has a... a what? A job. Maybe now we'll see some character growth from our brave hero.
Why did the wear a tux on his way to his vasectomy?
Oh god, these fucking guys again. Mark and Sarah begin to grow a little closer as they spend more time together, and she even brings him around her family. At Sarah's house, we meet her grandparents, and Mark has a sad realization that his family doesn't really care for him at all. We also learn during the visit that Sarah isn't from Massachusetts. She's from San Diego, and she even applied for the same scholarship that Mark did in the beginning of the movie. Turns out, Mark applying for that scholarship took the money away from her, because he initially thought that the scholarship was limited just to people in Los Angeles, but if he hadn't applied, the funds would be open statewide, and Sarah was next in line to win. And our hero, now literally facing the repercussions of his own actions, feels guilty. Damn. If only there was some way he could have known that dressing up and pretending to be a black person to steal away a scholarship from someone who's actually black was a bad idea, maybe even immoral.
It doesn't matter. I still had no right to take that scholarship. It's wrong.
If only there was some way Mark could have known that dressing up and pretending to be a black person to steal away a scholarship from someone who's actually black would make him feel bad. I guess this was the only way for him to figure that out. After learning about what happened with the scholarship, Mark decides to do the right thing and turn himself in. But on his way to do so, he learns about the potential repercussions of his actions, the consequences, and he learns about a big opportunity that his professor is going to promote him for. So instead, he chickens out.
I chickened out.
Side note again. It was at this point in the movie, I thought to myself, do you think Rachel Dolezal might have seen this movie? I'm just seeing a lot of parallels here. You know, you got a white person pretending to be black. You have them infiltrating black spaces to validify their own fake existence. The only real difference I see is Mark didn't get caught. He just gave up the game. I guess he also didn't start an OnlyFans. I guess I should say he didn't start an OnlyFans yet. Get on that, Mark. Give the people what they want. And right when things couldn't get any worse for our hero, in enters the third act redemption arc. Everything goes wrong all at once. Jan reappears. She tries to seduce Mark out of nowhere. His parents, they come back from their vacation. An important detail here is Jan thinks that Mark is black, and his parents don't know anything about Mark because they don't really give a fuck about anything that he does ever. And on top of all of that, Sarah's coming over to study, which gives us a 2-to-1 over-under on people thinking that Mark is black versus actually being white. I wonder how this could possibly play out for our brave hero. And as you could likely guess,
I'm black.
No, you're crazy.
horribly. Even the best joke in the movie couldn't save our hero from being exposed and evicted.
So, Mr. and Mrs. Watson, how do you find Boston? A lot of people compare it to a European city, but that's so stupid. I mean, all the signs are in English.
After our Scooby-Doo style shuffle results in Mark getting kicked out on the streets, he finally decides it's time to come clean. His juggling act of pretending to be a black person to steal away a scholarship from someone who was actually black turned out to be too difficult for him. Honestly, to me, it seems like an awful lot of effort to put in just to end up giving up, but he didn't even try to get a job anyway, so I guess I don't know anything. I guess Mark just had that Sigma male grind set about him. I wonder if any of those weirdos on TikTok will make one of those cringy like Sigma mashups like they do with Christian Bale or Andrew Tate. I wonder what that might look like. Mark decides he's at the end of his rope and he wants to come clean. And even in his darkest hour, his friend and comedic relief side host, Gordon, is still there by his side. Which to me says a lot. It takes conviction to stand by your friend after knowing how bad of a person they are. For me personally, I think pretending to be a black person when you're not is a deal breaker. I don't know if me and Mark would have made it much longer after that. Gordon even goes as far as to represent Mark in his commission for the student council that his professor recommended him for before knowing he lied about his skin color. Having finally come clean, Mark has one last meeting with his professor, and this is where the movie actually did surprise me a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, this entire movie just reeks of boomeritis. It's all just a story of how Mark had no empathy whatsoever and needed to literally experience what it was like to have racism committed on him in order to understand, like, that it exists. But here in the conclusion, you get to see the real moral of the story, and it's not as cut and dry as I expected. In closing, Mark shows that he really regrets his actions. He volunteers the full amount of the money that he took from Sarah and wants to give it to her so that she can have an easier time in school because she earned it rightfully. He even volunteers a certain percentage of his future earnings after he graduates law school to set up a new scholarship to benefit more people of underprivileged situations. But the most important part is that he acknowledges in the end that he does not really understand what it's like to be black because he was pretending the whole time. He comes clean and he says that he'll never know because even if things got so bad, he had an out. He didn't need to be black because he wasn't black. He could have gone back to being white at any time. And here's our lesson: empathy. Being able to experience what it's like to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, it can save you a lot of hardship in life. Hardship like taking experimental drugs to turn your skin black so you can get into law school or something, I don't know. All in all, this movie is not as bad as I was expecting, even though it is still incredibly strange and racist to have a white actor play a whole movie in blackface. I do understand what they were going for, though. This is just a classic example of 80s fairy tale racism. It's kind of like when you're at a family function and one of your older relatives says something vaguely racist, even though they think they're being complimentary, but they actually aren't. They're so old, you don't want to say anything because you're just going to start a big fight. And you know, even if you fight with this person, it's not going to change their mind. It's just going to ruin the whole evening. So you just secretly hope that they die so you don't have to see them next year. And that's hopefully what I provided to you with this review. Now you don't need to watch this garbage. And if we're all lucky, it might die. All joking aside, though, you should confront your older relatives about being racist. Racism is fucked up. Doesn't matter how old you are. And if you're going to take anything away from this movie, let it be this. Remember, everyone lives a different life, and it takes perspective in order to have empathy. And you should never be afraid to punch a snooty rich kid in the face for being a racist.
You need to leave!
And thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Leave a like if you liked the video. Remember to subscribe. Leave a comment, please. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. I've got some more videos coming soon, and I'll see you next time.